as I watched those saints, I saw 50 saints enter the gates of heaven, one at a time. And then they took me to the gates of the third heaven. Our Bible talks about three heavens. We have a first heaven, a second heaven, and a third heaven. There's no mention of a seventh heaven in our Bible. The teaching of the seventh heaven came from Jewish literature, not from our Bible. When I arrived outside the gates of heaven, I was ready to go and plead my case. The angel said, if you go in, you can't come out. You're going to have to stay till he brings you back. Now that means he is coming back and he's going to bring his saints with him. At this point I protested, but I said, you told me I could ask him. He said, you can. Stand outside the gate. But first he said, we brought you to that tunnel to perceive four truths. You missed the third one. The fourth one, we want to bring you back and let you look again. So they brought me back and let me look. I still could not perceive the fourth and final truth, so they told me what they wanted me to be aware of. The number of the saints going home. The insignificant number. And then they told me what I saw when I saw those 50 saints permitted to enter the gates of heaven, that they had died the physical death on earth in one 15-minute span of time, approximating the distance and time from where the paramedic judged my body to be dead until it arrived at the hospital. In that 15 minutes, these 50 saints had died, and their spirit had gone into heaven. Then they gave me the bad news. In that same 15 minutes, 1,950 other humans had also died, but they didn't go to heaven. They went the other way. Just like Matthew 7, chapter 7, verse 13, 14 says, for straight is the gate and narrow the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. For broad is the gate and wide is the way that go to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. So we see many goes the opposite way, and a few goes the right way. And this is exactly what I was allowed to see. 2,000 humans died that day worldwide in that 15-minute span of time. According to the testimony of angels, only 2.5% made it to heaven. 97.5 didn't make it. They told me why I was permitted to look at that, because on that day, August 3rd, 1979, that represented the spiritual condition of the planet Earth. Had that been the day that Jesus would have returned, he would have found 2.5% of the planet Earth ready to go to heaven. 97.5 would have missed it. People say, well, now, I know you fell out of a tree and landed on your head, because that's impossible. Almost on every street in America there's a church. Well, we got a big world. And in that world, according to the population right now, there's 6.5 billion human beings on earth. Out of that 6.5 billion human beings on earth, about 26% of them profess with their mouth to be Christians. 25% profess to their mouth to be Muslims. That leaves all the religion and all the atheists, the rest of the world, to make up the other 49%. Suppose we only got 26% professing Christianity. Suppose we got 10% of them really saved. That amounts to 2.5% of the world's population. I arrived back outside the gates of heaven, ready to go in and plead my case. Angel stopped me again, said, if you go in, you can't come out. God steadily brings you back. I began to protest. I said, well, you stand outside the gate and make your plea, and he will hear you. So boldly I came to the gate. I began to make my plea. No sound in all of heaven till I had finished. And then God spoke to me in an audible voice, the living God, the God that created all this. As he spoke to me, his voice was nothing like the voice the devil had tried to use to deceive me with. His voice was like the sound of thunder. I believe that's described in the book of John, chapter 26, I believe it is. Right offhand, I can't think of it just a minute. Should have wrote those scriptures down. I got so much. I try to remember. I can't remember the exact places where they are all the time. But anyway, it's in the book of John, where his voice is described as the sound of thunder. That's like he spoke to me in thunder. As the voice came down over those gates before it reached me, the tone of his wrath had laid me on my face, had zapped every ounce of strength in my being as he proceeded to tell me who I was. not who I thought I was. I discovered those two people were not even kin. I'm going to quote verbatim part of what he said. The rest I'll paraphrase. I very carefully choose my words when I quote verbatim the living God, because he said in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20, but the prophet which I presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die, unquote. Now that indicates both physical and spiritual. I know that I have to give an account of these words. And if you, the listener, are saved, the day I give an account of them, you'll be there as a witness against me. I better be right. And that's why I choose very carefully my words. As he spoke to me, I'm going to quote the first part verbatim. The rest I'll paraphrase. Quote, your faith is dead. Your works are in vain. The life that you lived and offered to me as a life of Christian service, I rejected as an abomination in the Pharisee. What made you think I would accept such an offering from a Laodicean-type Christian? In fact, untold millions are living the same kind of life that you live. They stand in danger of my everlasting wrath. Unquote, the living God. No, wait a minute, that's not me, I cried. That's not me. I'm a preacher, I'm a teacher, don't you know who I am? Heaven was made of brass. He wouldn't answer me. Suddenly a witness spoke. And one word, that witness convicted me. Jesus identified that witness in Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 and 37, where he said, by your own words you will be justified, or by your own words you will be condemned. He said, every idle word man speaks he must give an account of. There was my words, all of them. Every promise I'd made, broken. Somehow I had managed to break every promise I'd made to my church. Every promise was broken. Even the most sacred promises to my own family, I had broken them. But Lord, wait, don't understand. Yes? Lord, I said, but don't you understand? Don't you understand? I stood on the street corner and I preached to the passerbyers. I went up to the jail and preached to the prisoners. I opened my home and shared with others. I did all these wonderful works. I was there when you preached on the sidewalk, he said. I was there when you testified to the prisoner. I was there when you opened your home and shared with others. My wife and I had to open our home to abused, misused children. We took 32 children into our home, foster children. I was there when you opened your home and shared with others. I saw your works, all of them. They were good works. The works that my people offer me every day. But in your case, they're in vain. You didn't do them for me. You did them for a false God. You know I'm a jealous God. No matter how good your works are, if you do them for a false God, you do them in vain. But wait a minute, Lord, I didn't do them for a false God. I did them for you. I called you Lord every day. Yes, he said, you called me Lord, but you never made me Lord. What a difference. To call him Lord gives him a title. To make him Lord promotes him to ruler of life. I couldn't see that false God. And then he told me, he named him Satan's number one selling false God. The one that you should fear more than all the rest, but you won't. Like me, you love him too much. Satan's number one selling false God? S-E-L-F. Lovely old self. Because self ruled in my life, Jesus Christ had no place. They took me away, let me regain my composure, brought me back and let me plead the second time, till suddenly the scales fell from my eyes. I saw what it was they wanted me to see all the time. I was pleading for the wrong life. A life that came from dirt. It's going back to dirt, no matter what. But housed within was an immortal life. A life that would never end. A life that was precious to him. The God that created all of this was there hurting for me. I hurt my Father.